Welcome to On Security. Conversations with the world's leading security technologists.
Well, metrics is one of these interesting disciplines because you're trying to put numbers and security around nothing, essentially. So security is a job, rather like, I suppose, working for the CIA or the FBI. If nothing happens, you've had a good day, right? So most of your victories are very quiet. And when you work in a discipline like security, where when nothing happens, it's a good day, it means you have a hard time in many cases showing forward progress. Are you better off today than you were the day before? Are you able to justify the expenses that you incur? Because security is very expensive, very capital intensive. And so it's hard to show whether you're doing a good job. So security metrics is really something that me and a few other folks have been working on for a little while, trying to put some numbers and trying to put some rigor, analytical rigor into security. So, and essentially, I like to describe it as the Seinfeld problem. That show was about nothing. Metrics, in a way, is around putting numbers around nothing. So, so that's kind of what the basic gist of it is. Well, I'll just stop there. The benefits of metrics are manifold. There are a couple of obvious ones. A lot of people use metrics to show, they use what are referred to as happy metrics, right? So my firewall blocked 10,203 viruses yesterday, or I stopped 11 million porn spams, last week. So there's a lot of showing people things to show that they've been doing a decent job, right? And it's in many ways job justification kinds of things. But there are other reasons to use them too. So for instance, there are budgetary issues that you have to deal with. How much money am I spending? You can allocate costs using activity-based costing metrics and other ways of showing how much it really costs to keep your enterprise safe. So how much am I spending on my help desk for security issues? What's my patch management or antivirus software costing me? How much are my firewalls? You can allocate these things all together in a way that enables you to put a total dollar figure on what you're spending. You can also trend. So trending is a key reason to do metrics. And this is going to sound very cynical and flip. It doesn't really matter what you measure, as long as you do it more or less consistently, the same way, rigorously, and you keep at it and you keep records. So when you do enough of that over time, you're able to see trends and patterns. And if you've kept your baseline and the way that you collect the information consistent, you can start to really spot where the hot spots are, where the problems are, and where the good things are. So there's in the book that I talk about a lot of different ways of slicing your information. And a lot of people do it by department. Some people do it by geography. Other people do it by criticality of issues. It doesn't really matter what you choose as long as you pick a method that works for you and that your management can understand. The important thing, I think, is to really start at the end, right? So you want to start, there's a movie, and I'm going to forget the title. It might have been Usual Suspects, where there's a line that says, start with the last things first. And I think that's the important point, is you want to start with your goal in mind. So in many cases, that means mocking up a scorecard first, starting with a graphical exhibit of exactly what you want your management team to see. One of the constructs I recommend is something called the balanced scorecard. And the balanced scorecard is a method devised by two Harvard professors on how to measure organizational performance. And their critique of the way that enterprises measured their progress was that they relied way too much on financial measures. So what they wanted to do was to come up with a way of capturing other aspects of the way the enterprise is performing that is more than just the numbers, profit and loss, things like that. So they divided scorecards into 4 quadrants: financial, operational, customer, and learning and growth. And those 4, I think, have perfect appropriateness in the world of security. So when you think about putting a scorecard together, I like the balanced scorecard. I think it's a way of dividing up a lot of your security concerns into things like, how much money did I spend? That would be the financial. What are my key performance indicators on the operations? That's where you can put your virus metrics and your spam metrics and things like how long it takes to grant passwords and those kinds of things. The customer perspective would include things like privacy information. Hewlett-Packard, which is a company I was privileged to speak with during the writing of the book, keeps something they call privacy escalation. And that, to me, is a customer-facing metric. And that means anytime an employee spots a potential violation of privacy, they can escalate it. So they can escalate it to management, and they will track it, follow it, fix it. And they count these things, and they count it, they trend it, they cut it by business unit. I mean, that's a great example of a customer metric. Others include compliance. Compliance is arguably a big deal in security right now. That's something that you can measure. Then when it comes to learning and growth, it includes coming up with key indicators that really speak to the behaviors you're trying to encourage in employees. So for instance, everybody talks about how, just about any firm you go to, they talk about the importance of picking a good password, right? So it's very important for you to understand whether people are picking passwords that are complex, that are long, that have numbers and dollar signs and other things other than just the simple hello 123 or your wife's name or birth date or something like that. So when it comes to learning and growth, that includes capturing things like what kind of training effectiveness have you had? Are you keeping your employees up to date? Do you have the other kinds of behaviors that you want to see? Is your security group consulting with the business units when they roll out an application? These are all things you can count. And it takes some effort to do and some organization. But when you do all these things and you slice it up into a scorecard on these four perspectives, financial, operational, employee, learning and growth, and customer, and put it together, mock it up, you can come up with a scorecard that really works. So back to the original point, start at the end and then work backwards. Start with a view of what you want to achieve. I think the balanced scorecard is a good way to do it. Come up with a quick scorecard with 6 to 8 selected metrics that show the kinds of behaviors you want to see and the financial goals you want to hit and the operational characteristics. And then go figure out how you're going to go and gather the data. And then you can start thinking about how to visualize it, how to graph it, how to plot it, how to mechanize it, and really make it work in the company. Well, it's okay. I mean, it's management prerogative to change its mind, really. So if they want to measure something different, then that should be not a problem. I think measuring anything is usually a good thing, because if it's measured, people make it happen, right? If you don't measure it, it doesn't happen. And so really you want to align the measures with the right kind of organizational behaviors that you want to see. So if you have a new management, and let's say customer service to their paying customers is really important, right? Then you want to measure the things that result in good customer service. And let's say one of the services you provide is a web portal where you provision users, you allow them to log into your site to perhaps see some orders that they're tracking or some things that they're doing. You want to then put that new manager who might want to focus really on service might look at things like, how long does it take to provision a user account? How long does it take to shut one down? How long does it take to make privilege changes, perhaps, on the applications that they should be seeing? Again, these might be different metrics than maybe you're using, but they're going to help the people that report to that set of managers in order to make their case to show that they're doing a good job in a way that simply saying, we had a bad security week. I don't know what happened. There's a way of, I think, goes back to justifying your job, right? In a way, you want to do a good job. You want to show that you're doing a good job. And so much of what we see is 80% reactive, people fighting fires all the time, and 20% maybe doing proactive activities. By adopting that plan your work, work your plan, measure what you're going to be doing, enables you to get out from behind the 8 ball and hopefully deliver better service and better results for your company.
For more information, visit onpodcastweekly.com and subscribe to all our podcasts. Brought to you by the publishing imprints and information portal of Pearson Education.